So you see what I mean? On paper, the iPad is whoa. But in practice, the iPad is oh. So why the heck did I get the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus weeks before the brand new one? I'm just stupid. No, it's really because I wanted to use this so whenever I do use the new one, I can give you guys a better review and then maybe even tell you should probably get this instead of the new one or vice versa. I'm not going to mention any specs in this video because honestly, who cares? I think the average person just wants to know, hey, is the tablet good enough for me? Is it fast? Is it smooth? Do bears fart in the woods? Stuff like that. Now, I'm going to have timestamps down below, so feel free to skip around the video to see the parts that interest you the most, or, just watch the whole video if you love me. Yeah. I've owned iPads for quite a long time, ever since I started using tablets, which I don't even remember how long ago that was, but I always preferred iPads until I tried the Samsung Galaxy S5e, or the Galaxy Tab S5e. That was my first Galaxy tablet, and it was good, but it wasn't a flagship Galaxy product, and the iPad was just still better. But have my opinions changed ever since using a true flagship Samsung Galaxy Tab? Let's find out. First, I'm going to talk about the things that I really, really love about the Samsung Galaxy Tab, and then we're going to go ahead and go into the things that I really don't like. First off, the Samsung Galaxy S Pen. Now, this came for free whenever you purchase a Galaxy tablet that is capable of using Pen Touch. Well, it's not free, it's counted into the price of the tablet, but even so, this tablet is cheaper than the iPad. By how much? Well, this 12.14-inch Tab S7 Plus with 512 gigabytes of storage cost me just over $1,000. Meanwhile, the 12.9-inch iPad Pro with 512 gigabytes of storage is $1,400. But keep in mind, the Apple Pencil does not come with the iPad, so you're gonna have to spend $130 for this stylus. So in reality, a similarly priced and similarly packaged iPad will run you $1,530 before tax. In fact, this 12.4-inch Samsung tablet is $100 cheaper than the 11-inch iPad Pro. That's right. If you lose the S Pen or break it, to buy a new one, it'll just cost you $60. If you lose or break the Apple Pencil, to buy a new one, you'll just have to buy a new one, $130. So for $130, what does this Apple Pencil do that the Galaxy S Pen does not? Nothing. All jokes aside, if you are an artist or some sort of artist, the Apple Pencil will be better because the pen, just by the way the actual tips of the pen look like, you can clearly see that the Apple Pencil was designed to use and even look like an actual real-life pencil. So you'll be able to tilt the Apple Pencil more and really get in more carefully with the shading and everything, as opposed to the Galaxy S Pen. I got something stuck in my contact and it's really freaking my eye out. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Oh God, it's happening again. The one weird thing I noticed while using these two pens is that technically they have the same exact latency. The S Pen for the S7 Plus has a latency of 9 milliseconds, and so does this. But in practice, the Apple Pencil is still better. Just take a look at this GIF I found online. I totally don't know who made it. If I do find out, I'm going to put their credits on the bottom of the screen. But you can clearly see that the Apple Pencil, the actual stroke, matches closer to the pen than it does on the Galaxy Tab. So that's why I said, for you creators and artists out there that depend on the tablet of your choice, the iPad's going to be better because, well, you guys saw for yourself. Other than that, the S Pen does everything better. For example, when you bring the S Pen closer to the display, you'll see a little cursor to let you know exactly where the pen is going to land once you touch the display. This may seem like a gimmick, but I actually found this to be incredibly useful for picking which layers I want to move or edit while creating thumbnails. You can also use that feature to expand on the notifications so you can quickly read through them without even having to open them up. The S Pen also comes with a little function button that does different things depending on which app you're currently using. On YouTube, you can use that button to pause by clicking once and playing the video by clicking the button again. You can also use gestures to swipe to the next video or go back to the previous video. You can even go home by doing this motion and going back by doing this motion. If the S Pen bubble looks like this instead of like this, that means you can use that pen to control the app. You can also hover the pen over the icon to see exactly what commands you can do. It freaking makes you feel like Harry Potter. That to me is worth it just by itself. Not literally, but it's pretty cool, man. Come on, you guys. I mean, really, dude, if you're gonna be spending $130 on this, don't you want it to do a little more than just draw really good? I mean, anything else? Anything? As an iPad owner, and have been an iPad owner for quite a long time, and as an owner of the Apple Pencil, I almost never use this thing because it's only a stylus. It doesn't have any other functionality. Unless I'm stupid and I just don't know. In that case, that's very embarrassing and I should probably delete my YouTube channel. But as far as I know, man, this thing only just input. That's all you can do is just input. There's no Bluetooth functionality. You can't, nothing, dude, nothing. So that's why I gotta say, I do prefer the S Pen because I actually use it because it actually has functionality. So now let's go ahead and talk about the actual design of the tablets. Now look, I did own a 12.9 inch M1 iPad Pro with a mini LED display and I loved it. But it's just way too big, man. I mean, the aspect ratio of it and just the overall size, 12.9 inches, it was just not comfortable to use one-handed. So I returned it and got the 11-inch M1 MacBook Pro, or iPad Pro. And this size is definitely really good for this aspect ratio. So that being said, I was kind of worried about using the 12.4 inch Tab S7 Plus, but because of the aspect ratio of the Galaxy Tab, it just feels more comfortable to use in the hand. I don't know how to explain it. It's narrower but taller, and this is shorter but wider. Now, obviously, keep in mind, this is the 11 inch, not the 12.9 inch, not a fair comparison, I get that, but the 12.9 inch has the same exact design as the 11 inch. It's going to be wider and shorter. This is going to be narrower but taller, so it kind of just depends what you like. I prefer this aspect ratio because it's still massive 12.4 inch display, but it's more comfortable. Watching movies on the Tab S7 Plus is also great because you have less software bezels or letterboxing, whichever way you want to call it. But the downside of this aspect ratio is when you're browsing the web in landscape mode, well, you get less information. The rear of the tablets look different, and here I do prefer the way the iPad looks. It just looks more professional and just more expensive. Well, it is more expensive. The iPad also does have two cameras, just like on the Tab S7 Plus, and do you guys really want me to show you camera comparisons of tablets? Please don't. Please don't make me do that. But fine. Here's a very quick comparison. Moving on. The iPad also does have a LiDAR sensor, which does help create 3D representations and accurately measuring something. Yeah, I've never used it. You'll notice a glossy black line here on the Galaxy Tab S7 Plus, and that's where you're going to be charging the S Pen. Now, at first, I thought this idea was very stupid because anytime you're going to be putting the tablet down on a table, you're obviously not going to be putting it down screen first, right? I hope not. But the S Pen's there, so you can be just laying the tablet down on the S Pen, then the S Pen's going to be sliding around and scratching possibly the tablet or the pen itself. Very stupid idea. But little did I know, it only takes 40 seconds to charge this pen. You put it on, you wait 40 seconds, and that's it. Now, you guys might be saying, well, Mark, where do you put the pen once it's done charging? I literally just realized that yesterday. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if that's really where it belongs, but it's not going anywhere. So I think it's safe to say that's a good spot to put the pencil once you're done charging it, and that way it's not going to really bother your hands or anything. So it's kind of similar to the iPad's way of charging the pen, so similar like this. The screens of these two devices are actually vastly different. One is LCD and the other is AMOLED. Now look, I know, shh, 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 shh. Apple fans, I know this is not a fair comparison, because Apple also makes well, I shouldn't say also, but Apple makes a mini LED display which compares more to AMOLED than LCD does. But that iPad is the 12.9-inch iPad, and that's obviously much more expensive. I believe people compare with their wallets, not with specs on paper. And dollar to dollar, this is still cheaper than the 11-inch iPad and the 12-inch iPad, or the 12.9-inch iPad. So what can I say, man? AMOLED is definitely light years better than LCD. On AMOLED, the blacks are completely black, like the pixels are actually off. And you get an infinite contrast ratio, the colors pop, everything just looks amazing. With LCD, the blacks are gray and boring, just like my life. Both screens will have adaptive refresh rate up to 120 Hz, and man, I don't know, I just really prefer the screen on the Tab S7 Plus when compared to the iPad Pro. And I think you guys will too, especially when watching movies, because just wow. Watching movies is very pointless if the speakers are bad. Now luckily, both of these devices have amazing speakers. I know, Mark, it's not fair because you technically should be comparing the 12.9-inch iPad to the 12.4-inch Galaxy Tab S7 Plus and not the 11-inch iPad Pro. I get it, but like I said, Jimmy, life isn't fair, and people vote or compare with their wallets, not with specs on paper. Now, luckily, as I've said, both of these devices sound great. The Galaxy Tab S7 Plus does get louder, hint hint, it's larger, but it doesn't sound as balanced as the 11-inch iPad Pro. So if you guys want very loud, here you go. If you guys want not as loud but balanced, here you go. Any questions? So the Apple M1 versus Samsung's Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 Plus. Now, for those of you who have just no idea what I said, you guys are not tech geeks like I am, let me try to help you out. So Samsung Snapdragon is made by Qualcomm. It's a system on a chip. Apple's M1 is made by Apple. It's also a system on a chip. So now that I got you even more confused, let me just go ahead and say this. It doesn't matter. Remember, this review is not about specs, because if it was, the iPad wins. This review is how each tablet uses those specs. And here's where things start to change. The M1 chip on the iPad is too good for its own use. Why do you need an M1 chip in here with 16 gigabytes of RAM? Like really, this iPad, I assume, isn't even using 50% of what the M1 is capable of. And that's because the iPad is a monster that's being suffocated by iPad OS. There just isn't anything you can do on here that makes you say, whoa, that's a lot of power. I mean, yeah, it can split screen multitask, but I mean, like, okay, so can like 10-year-old Android phones. What? The Snapdragon 865 Plus on the Samsung is so hilariously bad compared to the M1 on paper. But to use it, it actually feels more powerful because it's Android, and that being said, you can actually see the power that you're using, if that makes sense. For example, the Tab S7 Plus can basically transform into a Chromebook PC using Windows DeX. And as you see, it kind of resembles Windows. But here you can multitask just as you can on a real PC by having resizable windows to get your workflow faster. But even in tablet mode, the multitasking is just better than the iPad because you can place the windows on top of each other so you can watch, for example, YouTube on the top and then browse the web on the bottom. And if you want, you can also place the windows side by side. You have that type of freedom. On the iPad, the same exact setup, YouTube and web browsing, looks like this. It's just not the best way to do multitasking by only having the windows on the side. Why can't we have the windows on top of each other? Again, This will be very embarrassing if you can, and I don't know how. But I swear to you, I've tried, and I just can't get it to work. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you can't do that. Let me click on that right there. None of those options give you the option to place the window on top of each other. So I'm gonna go ahead and assume you can't do that. So you see what I mean? On paper, the iPad is whoa. But in practice, the iPad is oh. Now, both the iPad and the Samsung Galaxy Tab do have special connectors on the bottom. You can see the 3 pins on the iPad that is located on the back. And on the Galaxy Tab, the 3 pins are actually located on the side, and they are right there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Right, yeah, whatever, it's right there. Just take my word for it. Now, I don't have a keyboard for this one because I didn't want to spend too much money since the new one's coming out soon. You know what I mean? But just know that yes, you can get a first-party original Samsung keyboard and slap it on here just as you can with the iPad using Apple's keyboard. So as an iPad owner, what do I not like about the Galaxy S7 Plus? Again, after all, no device is perfect. The first thing I'm not a fan of, and by that I mean I freaking hate, is the insane glare of the screen. This thing is so damn reflective. Ladies, you can literally use this to put your makeup on. I was watching a horror movie yesterday, and then the lights were on. I think I was sitting right behind you guys, and then I had that light on. You can't see it, but it's not the purple light. It's the one over there. It doesn't matter. I'm getting way into detail. Anyway, I was watching a scary movie, right? And then in the dark parts of the movie, I saw my face in the reflection. Like, damn, I know this is a horror movie, but I'm not that ugly. Like, come on. I just really do not like that reflective screen. Imagine if you're somewhere outside or in a coffee shop, you're gonna have, if you're holding a tablet like this, you're gonna have the roof of the building that you're in reflected down on top of you. And I don't know, I hate it. People say it's better for color accuracy, but let me tell you this. Do you guys have any idea how many professionals use the iPad Pro for actual professional color grading work? And let me tell you, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Now, luckily, I don't really care about color grading, so at least not on the iPad or the Galaxy Tab for that matter. So I don't care, but when watching movies, it is so annoying. Another thing I don't really like are the side buttons, the volume rocker and the power button. They are way too flush with the actual border of the tablet. Sometimes I find myself hitting the wrong one because you really have to like feel it out. You can't just like out of like memory just click it and then it works. No man, for me I always misclick it. I click either volume down when I'm meant to go up. I lock it whenever I'm meant to put the volume up. It's just not as good. I wish they kind of made the buttons stand out a little bit more, you know, a little bit, but whatever. Now, speaking of buttons, the button on the S Pen is also very flush with the pen itself. In the dark room, I always found myself looking at twisting the pen around trying to find the button because it's kind of hard to feel it out with your tips of your fingers. Obviously. What other tip are you using with your S Pen, man? That's weird. But yeah, it's just annoying. I wish, again, they either made the pen or the button on the pen stick up a little bit or made the texture of the button a little bit differently so we can actually feel it out with our tips, again, on our fingers. The one last thing I don't like about this tablet is only 3 years of software support, or software updates, I should say. That's not good for the amount of money this thing costs. Now, I know you can download your own custom software, but dude, let me tell you, 99% of people won't do that, and they don't even know how to do that. And your security just goes out the door because you have a custom ROM in here, so you better pray to Jesus that the developer really likes you and won't steal your information. So that's basically it. Those are the things that I absolutely love about the tablet and some of the things that I don't really like about the tablet at all. Overall, the tablet is just, it's fun to use, man. I don't know how to explain it. It's fun to use because it feels like an actual computer, more so than the iPad. Not to mention, you can put an SD card to expand your storage on the Galaxy Tab, and you cannot do that on the iPad. This thing takes up to 1 terabyte micro SD card, and right here currently inside is 512. So if I put in 1 terabyte, I will essentially have 1.5 terabytes of storage. That's insane. I'll never use it, but that's insane. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I will be getting the Tab S8 Ultra. Is that what it's called? Yeah, the Tab S8 Ultra. So if you guys want a comparison with that and the Tab S7 Plus to see which one you guys should pick up, definitely subscribe if you are new here. And if you guys did enjoy the video, definitely click that like button as well, because it helps this channel out and it lets YouTube know that you found this video to be interesting, and then YouTube will push that video to more people, and I'm happy. If Mark's happy, everyone's happy. Except not really. That's it. This was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.